Welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland. With me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello and welcome to a new episode of Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. I'm Kelly, I'm your host, and today we are starting a 3-part series all about wedding websites. Before we get into it, last week's episode was a really good one, and it was all about the correct order in which to choose your wedding suppliers. And so instead of thinking about hundreds of wedding planning decisions that you need to make and considering them all at once, I've walked you through the order to do things in the very first phase. And spoiler alert, there's a lot you need to think about before you even book any suppliers, and I walked you through all of it. So if you missed that one, it's a great episode to catch up on. As for wedding websites give an opportunity to communicate information that just doesn't fit on your wedding invitation. There's a lot of information that guests need to know, and you just can't cram it into the printed wedding invitation. So a wedding website gives you that chance to really cover everything, to make sure that you can word things properly, and you can even include information later down the line. You don't have to have everything on the website from the first day. And so I'm going to walk you through everything that your wedding website needs in today's episode. And then next week, we're talking about wedding website FAQs. So an FAQ stands for frequently asked questions. So I'm going to walk you through different questions that your guests will be thinking about and how you can communicate the information about those questions in your wedding website. And then part 3 will be the About Us section of the wedding website. If you've never written your love story before, how on earth would you know what to do now? I'm going to walk you through the formula, what to say. So in this series, we're not covering, places that you can go to create your free website and, all of that type of thing. It's just more the content and what to put on your wedding website. We're going to make sure that by the end of these 3 parts, you know exactly what your wedding website needs to have and how to word it perfectly. So let's get stuck in. First thing your website needs is the basic information. Your names, your wedding date, the time of the wedding, and the location of the ceremony and the reception venue. This just really helps your guests to know that they're in the right place, that they've gotten to the correct wedding website, and the information that they're going to see is about you and your wedding. So I recommend having the basics at the top of the website or near the top, somewhere with a photo of you. It's the first thing that guests will be looking for as a reminder of when you're getting married and where the wedding is. Have it at the top. It's going to be very helpful for guests to know they're in the right place. Next thing your website needs is a section called the FAQs, as I mentioned before. So FAQ is frequently asked questions. Everyone has questions, and there will be things that you just can't put in a nice way or a nice order on the main website page, but an FAQ section allows you to unpack everything that guests could possibly be thinking about. So next week, I'm going to lay out all the questions you can think about and some really polite ways to answer the questions. So just as an example, people may be thinking, are my children invited? And of course you want to say, well, were their names on the invitation? No, so no, they're not. But that's not what you want to say on your website. So I will help you to answer the questions in a very straightforward way, but in a way that's polite and not going to hurt people's feelings. So next thing that you want on your website is anything to do with your virtual wedding. So if you think, the top of the wedding website will have the basic information, but if you are having a live link where guests can tune in, they can watch the ceremony at any point, this is where you want to put it, somewhere near the top, or even just a note to say, we will be live streaming the wedding, details below, and then you can put the information lower down. You want to give them the link at some point so they know where to go. If there's a password required, you want to give them access to that in some way on the website. And then any other instructions, like, for example, please mute yourself or please show up 10 minutes before. Whatever you would like them to know about the virtual wedding, that's where it goes. Next is anything to do with gifts. So if you have a gifts list, you want that on the website. If there's a live link where people can click on it and it takes them to a registry on an external website, all the information that they need should be there. If it's a specific code that they need to use when they go to a certain shop, all of those things, put that there. And again, if you are not having a gifts list and you're actually asking for cash instead, then you want to find a creative way to ask for cash, and you can do that on your wedding website in place of a gifts list. Next is how to get to your wedding venue. And because you're using a wedding website, you can be very detailed. So I recommend having the full address, a map, any other key information. Think about guests who are coming from a different place and they're coming to what is considered an unfamiliar location for them. Make sure that you are giving them the information that they need. So it could be names of nearby airports, places to rent cars, links to public transport websites, or information about how long the journey is. That's the kind of thing that maybe you would know because you live in the area, but anyone flying in or driving from far wouldn't necessarily know that, so it's helpful to spell it out for them. You also want to give them details about where to park for anybody who is driving, and things like taxis. Give them information about if they need to book those ahead of time or if they can phone on the night when they want to go home. All that information to do with getting to your wedding is very crucial, and you can be as detailed as possible. Next up is accommodation. Similar thing for anybody who doesn't live in the area. You can list any details about your wedding venue's hotel and accommodation options if you do have any of those options at your wedding venue, or even nearby hotels, places to rent, Airbnbs, whatever is possible in the area that you're getting married in. Send them addresses, website links, and if you have any discount codes for guests who are staying nearby, put those in this section as well. And now we're talking about your story. Now this is your wedding website and you want to customize it. Obviously all the details will be customized because it will be your wedding date, your wedding details, but it's also about you. This is your wedding. It's your love story, and you want to include something really special and sentimental about who you are as a couple. Now, not next week, but the week after, I'm going to help you to write this part, because if you've never written your love story before, you probably have no idea where to start. So I'm going to help you write it by including some really special bits about who you are. And this is just a really helpful thing to have on the website. It's not informational, but it's just special. It gets people excited to watch you tie the knot. Another thing that you want to have on your wedding website is any kind of RSVP information. So that includes where people can RSVP. So this is actually a very crucial part of your wedding website. People need to know where they're going. Are they sending an email? Are they phoning someone? Are they sending a text? Are they clicking a link? Are they just clicking something on a drop-down menu where they can select yes or no? What do you want them to do? Is it going to a form, or is it something automated on the website? Whatever it is, include all the details about how to RSVP, but also don't forget to give them a date. They need to know when they're RSVPing by, and then you know that if they have missed that deadline, you can chase them and you're not being rude by doing so because they've been given the date. Something else you want to include is your dress code. Guests want to know what to wear. So you don't need to spell it out by giving them, examples of outfits, but you can tell them what the dress code is and then they can do their research. Try and be as clear as you can. Don't make up a dress code that doesn't make any sense, but give them the dress code and then they know how formal they need to be or how relaxed the wedding is. If your wedding ceremony and your wedding reception have a large gap between them, you could also include something on your website about things that guests can do in the area between those two events. So it's quite common to have two sites, so ceremony in one location, reception in another, and a gap between the two. But you don't just want to leave people hanging and they're like, well, what do we do? You could name things, if there's a nearby coffee shop or somewhere to eat or a museum or a beach that they can walk along. Whatever it is, give them some ideas. And that's a polite way of saying there's going to be a few hours between the two. Don't go straight to the reception venue, but here's something you can do instead. Online etiquette is the next one. If you are having anything like a wedding hashtag, or if you want guests to post photos somewhere during the wedding, give them that information ahead of time and they'll get excited to capture your wedding from their perspective. If you are having a hashtag, don't assume that everybody knows how to use it. So spell it out for them. And again, if you're having an unplugged wedding ceremony, this is a great place to let people know that when they get to the ceremony, they can pop their bags down, they can put their phones on silent or off in the bag, out of the way. It's just helpful for people to know that ahead of time. You can also include something on your wedding website all about the food. So you don't need to give guests the whole menu. I don't think they need to see that, but you can at least give them the opportunity to tell you if they have any allergies or special dietary requirements. It's also helpful for people to know which meal they're having. So if your ceremony begins at, say, 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., guests will assume that they're having dinner. But if your ceremony is a little bit earlier, let's say 1 o'clock, people might not know if there's like a lunch or a dinner. So give them that information and then at least they can plan ahead. Something I think is great to have on a wedding website is a countdown. It's something very visible and visual that helps guests to see how many days or months or hours it is until your wedding. It helps to get excited for you guys. It's just a fun touch to have. It's not necessarily about the information, but it's more about the excitement behind it. And finally, something you definitely want to have on your wedding website is contact information. Now, we've already spoken about RSVPs, and so there may be an email address or a phone number for that, but you need to be thinking about the point of contact on your wedding day. So if somebody gets lost or if someone has a question on the day, they're not phoning you or your partner, because who wants that? They're contacting your point of contact. It could be your wedding planner, it could be the venue coordinator, it could be the best man or the maid of honor, another designated friend or family member, somebody who can answer the phone if somebody needs help on the day. Definitely should not be you. So make sure that you've got that information clearly communicated on your wedding website, just in case somebody needs to know anything. Well, don't forget, next week we're coming back and talking all about the wedding planning FAQs, what to include and how to politely word the answers. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.